And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glass. Coming back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, where we cover the latest news and notes in the world of the NFL, plus the news and notes in the world of pop culture. So go ahead and check out what we're doing each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast for the Pop Culture Cosmos. Also, as well, of course, our good friends at Lakerholics.com. You know, Jamie Sweet with his 5 things articles. The Laker Tom won't have much nice things to say about what's going to go on with tonight's game or what went on with tonight's game at Lakerholics.com. Our good friend Joe Soro. Don't forget Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro coming up for you at 11 p.m. Pacific. Also, as well, of course, he owns a company, Simblades with a Y.com. Also, as well, of course, Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. Our good friend John Costas here. Go ahead and follow him at Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk. His great channels there. And speaking of supporting, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Yo, bad loss indeed, but go ahead and support Daniel Barry Sports Highlights anyways, plus Lakers in 5, Empire Jeff TV, and John McKinley. And speaking of all those great channels that you need to support, please also give us a support with a like and subscribe. Follow. Do that today so you get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Well, with the Lakers coming off their vacation, All-Star break, Cabo, Hawaii, wherever they were at, seems like the defense is still in Cabo because the way they came out after the All-Star break on the defensive end didn't look like they guarded very well or guarded very much as Curry and the Golden State Warriors went off pretty much at every single turn, especially with big runs at the end of second and third quarter. Lack of effort was there on the defensive end for the Lakers as the Golden State Warriors shot 46% overall, 39% from three, and 85% from the free throw line. And again, big runs at the end of the second and third quarter pretty much did the Lakers in. And the Lakers, unfortunately, fall in their first game back without LeBron James, without Christian Wood, without Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent, 128-110. And here today to go ahead and discuss the Lakers right back where we saw them much of their month in January. And unfortunately, they have, the way they were turning it around in recent days, they did not follow that blueprint. Here today to go ahead and discuss. Great guys indeed. First up is a good man behind Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk. It is John Costa. John, with the hoodie, actually just like LeBron had his Clutch hoodie on today, he had yellow on, just matching yellow with the clutch and also with the hat as well. It's all great. It's all good. The fact is, no LeBron, no Christian Wood, no Cam Reddish, no Jared Vanderbilt, no Gabe Vincent, no defense today. And really, when it came down to it, that's all the Golden State Warriors needed as they throttled the Lakers and pretty much had a comfortable lead most of the way.
Yeah, you said it best, Gerald. They left their defense wherever they all went in their All-Star break. I know, the big players, big-time players and the All-Stars, of course, they have to be in Indy for the All-Star game. But the players who don't get selected, sometimes they're like, you know what? I'm going to take this time to go on a little vacation. And clearly, mentally, all of our players were still on vacation because, defense is a part of the game that, you don't really need to have all that skill. You don't really need to have all that talent. Now, granted, if you can read the game great, like IQ wise, you can be very smart. You can pick up on things quickly. If you have fast feet. Now these are things that, may help you on the defensive end. But at the end of the day, all defense comes down to is, do you got that dog in you? How much do you want it? And in this game, you could tell from the beginning, from the first tip-off, from the early tip-off in this game, all the way into the buzzer sound at the end, you could tell that the defensive intensity was just not there. The amount of fast break points that we gave up, y'all, in that first quarter, the entire game, but just in that first quarter, honestly had me baffled. It honestly had me baffled. It's like, wow, the Curry and the Warriors are usually more of a second half team they're putting it on us in the first 5 minutes, and we couldn't do nothing about it. It was ridiculous. Honestly, yes, the Warriors, had control the whole time of the game, but like the only reason this game was even relatively close, especially in that first half, was because the Warriors just had an immense amount of turnovers, and that's what really kept us in this game. But besides that, you guys, like, we played horrendous. Once again, a point that I've brought up so many times on this stream in the past. I don't understand why the Lakers decide to conform to society or conform to what NBA is nowadays, right? NBA is get up a lot of threes, but every team has players that make your dynamic, and that right there, based on the players you should have, decides on if you should be getting up a whole lot of threes or if you should be going inside. Every time we've been successful so far this season, unless it's been like crazy game where we shot wild from the 3-point line, we've just been dominant inside. I don't understand why we try to get away from that. We try to conform to society and just shoot a whole bunch of threes. We got up 35 threes tonight to the Warriors 41. So you're telling me that a top tier shooting team like the Warriors and a bottom tier shooting team like us, we only got 6 less threes in them the entire game? Come on, man. Embarrassing loss though. But happy to be here, guys. All-Star break. I had to get some time with my girls, some time with my family. But I am happy to be here talking hoops with the best Lakers community all in the world.
There you go. Well said, my friend. Well said indeed. It is the Lakers Fast Break. It is John Costa, me, Joe Glassford. Thanks so much for watching this. I truly appreciate it. The Lakers do lose tonight, 128-110. They fall to 30-27. Still ninth place in the Western Conference, although that gap between them and the Golden State Warriors is a little bit tighter, down to a half game. Plus, the Lakers have one more loss in the loss column. But here today to go ahead and discuss a guy who is a great part of our playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break live coverage. Big shout out to Stone Hansen and Laker Nick for being a great part of it as well. It is Joe Soro, a.k.a. Reed Rothschild from Boogie Nights. There you go. See, one of Anderson's, one of his better movies, I think. It was really, really underrated movie. And a Torrance, California reference as well. I love that part about where Mark Wahlberg said that. Yes. You sound a little bit like Darth Vader again, my friend. Now your Darth Vader playback voice has transferred over here, so I don't know why that's now having that issue. So I will go ahead and say that the Lakers unfortunately did not get it done. Part of the key was the Lakers not being able to just get any kind of rhythm offensively, and defensively was just absolutely abysmal. Jackson Hayes, I heard Doobie say that Jackson Hayes was playing well. I'm not sure I can agree, because he was getting killed in a certain sequence. He was getting absolutely killed by Trace Jackson Davis because the pick and roll absolutely burning him with no help for him at all whatsoever. He was totally mishandling it. But Joe, are you with me? Let's see if you can sound. How do you sound now? No, you're still in bad shape.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay, sounds good. The Terminator will be back, John. But when it comes right down to it, I'm going to go ahead and hit you up with this. The Lakers needed good games out of D'Angelo, Austin Reeves, and Rui Hashimura tonight. I said that in the pregame, that we needed them to continue the good shooting. And I know that you said the Lakers are no longer, according to the stats, because they've been on such a run, they're no longer in the bottom tier of shooting. They were actually right in the middle. Last time I checked, they were about 15th, 16th place in three-point shooting. But do you think it was fool's gold? Do you think it was something that because the Lakers had been shooting so well heading into the break that they found themselves maybe falling in love with it a bit too much?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3-point line, especially in today's day and age, what it is it's the easiest way out. It's if you can't get past and just beat the opponent that's in front of you and get to the hoop, or be able to really go big man on big man colliding in the paint, or if you don't really have some plays, what do is you settle out for a jumper. And I think jumpers in the NBA are something that it comes and goes. The great ones like Curry, the Clays, the Reggie Millers, the list, the Ray Allens, The list can go on. But the greats, they're able to keep it consistent. Now, we don't have not a single great shooter on this Lakers team, which is why you see the inconsistency in our shot.
But that's from you saying you're the president of the D'Lo fan club. D'Lo is shooting 42% from three. He's absolutely turned his shooting around.
He absolutely has turned his shooting around, but that's one player. And I wouldn't even consider D'Angelo Russell a great 3-point shooter. I would say that he is the epitome actually of a inconsistent, of a up one day, down next day. His play overall as a whole has gotten a lot better and has been more consistent, but his jumper is probably the most inconsistent part of his game. Sometimes he'll be hidden on those catch and shoot, and sometimes he can come down court and just pull up. I love those down court when he just pulls up without passing the ball. But sometimes he'll get those corner threes and just absolutely totally airball it. So he's just an inconsistent shooter.
That's funny. Frank's ears. We'll give you all THJ for a bag of Lay's chips. That's funny. That's fine. Little Chris, thank you so much for the appreciate as far as the donation to 199 super chat. What you all think about the Lakers medical staff? Joe, to start you back in on this, my friend, hopefully you're sounding well now. What do you think about the Lakers medical staff? Because I certainly don't have a high opinion of them.
Am I sounding okay?
You are, my friend. Rant away.
Okay. Medical, geez, I don't really know. I wasn't planning on talking about the medical staff, but apparently, I don't know if I want to put the blame on them. I think the fact that this league is full of Charmin. Actually, it's not even Charmin. It's one-ply tissue. Charmin is too much of an upgrade for them.
It's like when you go to the store and you go get the store brand one. Is that correct?
I think one ply is the one that you would get at a 99-cent store.
Yes, right. Or at the truck stop when you go to use the restroom.
It's a mistake that you make when you're in a situation where you need to get something quick and you don't have anywhere else to go. You're in a town that you haven't been in before, and the dollar store is there. You're like, well, I'm just gonna go there. Sometimes a gas station obviously would be able to do it too, but sometimes you go to the first thing you see. But yeah, that's when you pick up those items that are made at a bargain cost. But the Lakers had way too many issues tonight to just pick one, two, or maybe even three. It was a complete, just dissatisfying game. Especially considering they were playing neck and neck for almost the first two quarters. I thought, okay, this looks like a game that they're just gonna have about 30 lead changes, and maybe the Lakers just need to hang in there for another couple quarters and hope that they can, make Steph Curry shoot 30-footers. But what ended up happening was they ran out of gas early. And you could kind of see it coming, especially after the way Steph Curry started the game. I said, if Steph Curry hits a couple of threes, they go to a 6-7 point lead. This thing's probably going to get away from them. And that's what eventually happened. I didn't have a gauge on this game because it was the Warriors, and the Lakers have a tendency to play very well against them, even without their main guys. But I almost felt like after that run in the second quarter by the Warriors, that the Warriors were not going to lose this game. They hadn't really whooped us in a while, and I think this was something that was due. Now, looking at it from the Lakers standpoint, I don't know if I can go to the route of the break took out the rhythm. I don't think that's the issue. I think their defensive deficiencies are an issue. The Warriors had 98 points through three quarters. You could say that the defense was an issue. You could say a combination of the defense as well as them hitting shots was an issue. Draymond Green was hitting three-pointers. As soon as I saw Draymond hitting a couple threes, that really was the problem, because he couldn't hit the backboard the last 3 months. Darvin Ham couldn't adjust. but that's something that we have to deal with almost every other game. They were drawn out. Stone had mentioned during the telecast, they were drawing out AD, and there was no adjustments made there. If you draw out AD with a 4-guard lineup, which we saw a few times, yeah, you might as well just turn in your coaching title and just go try to, I don't know, go mow lawns at that point, because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So yeah, it just kind of piled up and it piled up and it piled up. And at that point, once they went up 12, 13, 14 points, there was no way they were going to lose that game. And even when they took it down to 9, they're late. I was like, yeah, whatever. But they're going to, I'm curious to see what happens with LeBron. Does he show up tomorrow? Does he not show up tomorrow? What exactly is this team's goal for the next 25 games? I believe they're just going to try and maintain as much as they can to just get into that play-in. They're going to have to play at least 2 games if they want to get that 8th seed, and hope that they don't play Denver in the first round. Play in Minnesota, play in Oklahoma City. They might feel like there's a shot there, but there's no way that this team can be that reliant on turning a switch. I don't see how that's possible. I think they're living off what happened last year. That stuff doesn't happen all the time. I don't see it happening again. They keep punting games away. It's just, it doesn't look good, guys. Even with the 6 or 7 games, the margin of error continues to get worse and worse the more they get into this. And the worst part about this is they're going to have a really, really, really tough time, even at home, in the next few weeks. They are going to have a 6-game road trip too on top of that. So how do they balance that out? It's going to be an interesting run here.
Once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do lose 128-110. They are now 30-27, only a half game ahead of Golden State for 9th place in the Western Conference. John, the famous Ham quotes that we usually like to go ahead and reiterate are back after tonight's game. And in all likelihood, according to Darvin Ham, LeBron James will be playing tomorrow night against San Antonio. Funny, the games which you need him, on the surface, on paper, more in Utah and Golden State, he doesn't play. The games which you really don't need him, Detroit, the All-Star game, and if tomorrow he plays San Antonio, are the ones he plays. I don't know. Are you irritated with that? I mean, he is your 1 or 1A best player. It really does not, just the optics are not good when this happens.
Optics aren't good at all, and doesn't make sense at all. Pisses me off, and this has been an issue that I feel like the Lakers front office, I mean, has been having front office, medical staff. I don't know if it's LeBron James himself making these decisions. I don't know what it is, but it's ridiculous. And what's funny is, I'm saying it right now, and I hope it doesn't happen, because we're all Lakers fans here. But watch the Lakers F around and still lose tomorrow. Watch the Lakers F around and still lose tomorrow. So they were coming into it thinking like, all right, cool, like we'll punt this game because we'll definitely beat San Antonio. Watch San Antonio come out and hit like 53s or just something ridiculous, and we just can't do anything about it, and we end up losing that game. And that plays into the point that Joe was talking about earlier. Who in the world do we think we are to be punting games? We are battling for that play-in spot. We are battling for 9-10. I believe as of right now we sit in the 9th seed, but like, we are not a top tier seed to where we could be punting games. Every single game matters at this point. Granted, I understand that LeBron James is 39 and you want to take care of his body and whatnot, but like, if it's not now, it's not gonna ever happen, because I don't want us to have to fight through the same fight that we had to fight last season to get as deep as we got in the playoffs. Sorry about that. I'm super happy. We got Western Conference Finals. Dope. Unfortunately, we got swept. But you know the fight that we had to put up to get there? It's just an unnecessary route that if we were to not be punting all these games. And honestly, guys, I'm going to be real. I think, and you guys keep me honest here, okay? Keep me honest. I think that genuinely we have done, I think probably maybe like 4 to 5 streams so far already that the Lakers like punted the game. And we were like, what in the F are you doing? So that's like 4 to 5 games that could have absolutely made a difference. Granted, in a perfect world, we don't win all those games, but 2, maybe 3 of them, maybe. But we let go like 4 or 5. Lakers in 5, my dog. But yeah, craziness though, Gerald.
Once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do lose 128-110. Cool, bro. Again, we put everything with a disclaimer with you. Any movie that we mentioned that is an R-rated movie, we do not condone you watching until you reach the age of a legal adult. And we're going to stick to that. And so I don't want your parents on us at all. Joe, aka Reed Rothschild, which started this whole conversation with Cool Bro. I want to ask you this, my friend. The Lakers, they just don't the planning of this. They were able to luck out and escape from Utah with a nice victory without LeBron, but just the fact that LeBron misses the games that statistically or analytically you think you need him more for, and he wants to go ahead and play in the games that he's not as needed for, it just logically, as an organization, somebody should sit down and say, you know what, maybe we need to map this out just a little bit better.
There's no mapping, Gerald. You guys have to come to grips with what this team is.
Obviously,
we can get happy when they go on a run. We can create some hope here, but no, it doesn't matter. There's not enough talent on this team. LeBron is too old, and AD is the only guy that can do everything. And I say everything, you're not expecting every player to do everything like AD, but what I'm saying is he's in his prime. He's playing well. He can play defense. He can play offense. That's it. You don't have anybody else. You have LeBron, who can have nights that are great every now and then. That's what great players do every now and then. But he's a major liability on defense, and on offense, he's played a little bit better than he did even last year. But you basically have 1.5 stars and a bunch of half stars. If I had to quote a famous show called Star Search with host Ed McMahon, that totally came out. I didn't prepare for that, by the way. That's what this is. They're all half stars. It's not going to work, guys. There's too many. They're deficient in too many areas that this championship run needs to have. It needs to have some kind of defensive philosophy, execution, and on offense, you need to be able to make shots night in, night out. They were doing really well on offense for a while there. It's 7 straight games. They were doing their job, but it's not enough. 7 games is not enough. That this team needs to be on a mission for at least 50 games, 50 to 60 games during the year, and they're not. They're on 20. If I had to take a guess on a number, 20 games where they were doing what they were supposed to do. So they don't have it, folks. We're gonna ride this as long as we can to see a miracle. See if a miracle may happen. That's what's going to take for this team to make a run. If there isn't a miracle, the Lakers have a very, very good chance of not even making the playoffs, because I don't consider the play in the playoffs. They might get bounced in the play-in.
Joe, real quick, because you said, and this is at a decision or a point that I've come to a long time ago. This team just simply isn't good enough. Around the time when Stone kind of started to come back around, that's when I had came to the decision that, yeah, this team just simply isn't good enough to make a championship run. But one of the things that you said was what is required of a team that's trying to make a championship run, a team that's trying to contend, is you talk about the defensive schemes. I know I'm not the only one. They were saying it on the broadcast. What kind of coach tells your player to, unless Anthony Davis is just deliberately not listening to Darvin Ham, what kind of coach tells your player, yo, I'm going to play drop coverage on the greatest shooter of all time? That right there, to me, and maybe there's some type of little ins and outs that I'm not seeing. So please enlighten me if there's somebody out there who's just, the all-time great basketball mind. But I watch a whole lot of basketball. I played a whole lot of basketball my whole life at a competitive high level. And I know number one thing you do not do is you don't play drop coverage on great shooters, especially the greatest shooter of all time. So just want to touch on your point. And
if I had to take a logical guess on what was going on, maybe Darvin Ham thought, let Steph Curry do his thing and stop everyone else. The problem was they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Draymond Green was hitting threes. Clay, unfortunately, Clay was the only one that really didn't have a good game. Clay was, his deterioration is complete at this point, folks. He needs to play probably 15 to 20 minutes a game the rest of his career. I don't think that guy has any business playing 25, 30 minutes anymore. My heart goes out to him. I love Clay. It's just not possible at this point. His leg is shredded, and I use that word because that's exactly what happened to him. But Steph Curry is still a star. He still can perform. And I believe they were trying to let him do his thing and let everyone else fail. But they didn't. And I'm going to answer Frank's question. The rumors of Trae Young coming to LA in the summer, that seems to be the hot question. Will he make a difference? Yes, he will make a difference. His game complements AD extremely well. Other than Westbrook, I believe any player that's ever played would complement LeBron's, especially this late in his career. But you still have to build a little bit around those guys. You may have to make some decisions on personnel that can bring in possibly at least a couple of important defensive type players. If you can get a center that could play some defense, that would help AD a lot. You don't need to play AD at power forward. I think we've gone past that at this point.
I think when you're in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, you need more than just one player to change the whole dynamic of your team.
Yes, but you also have to have the right complements to those players.
True.
Trae Young,
but that's what I mean.
Yeah, Trae Young has improved his defense, which is good, which means he would help. It wouldn't be just something where you get Dame Lillard and you got a turnstile, but with good offense, which is what Trae was most of his career. Trae has actually improved his defense, which should show you that he does understand that he had an issue and he's trying to fix it. And on top of that, he's still able to do what he does on the offensive end, which is elite. He is elite on offense. And this team needs an elite player besides LeBron. AD's elite. If you get another elite player on this team, then you got to work off those two players, and then maybe LeBron can finally play the 30 minutes we want him to play for one more year. Those other guys need to be defensive beasts at some point with an occasional shot that can go in. How that gets put together, that's a discussion we'll talk about during the summer or when the Lakers are bounced out of the playoffs or the play-in. So right now, the Lakers just don't. You cannot explain it any other way other than it's just not enough. They don't have enough to consistently play game in and game out with any kind of chemistry. It's injuries, or it's the coach, or it's LeBron deciding to not play certain games. It's just too fractured. It's a fractured team. That's the easiest explanation I can make. And with a fractured team this late in the season and a 39-year-old LeBron, this is not Shaq coming back from toe surgery in 2003. where they made a run at the end of the year, and if not for a Robert Horry missed in and out three, they probably win the championship that year. This is completely different. This is an aged player that can't play the way we need him with this particular roster. So if you want to get better with LeBron on this team, you're going to have to get one more elite player. And there's going to be more. LeBron has only won, I guess, to some, those who are detractors to LeBron. He always needs more help, right? Well, in this case, folks, he is in his 21st season. He is contracted to play another year, which would make it his 22nd season. Yes, at this point, he does need somebody. And if you want to get one more chance at the title, the Lakers have to do the unthinkable this summer and do that. If not, this is likely what we're going to see with the current roster. And there's really not much that's probably going to change.
Once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do lose 128-110. They are now 30-27 on the season, still in ninth place, but now only a half game in front of the Golden State Warriors. And actually they have,
it's not,
but they have one more loss.
I always like to point this out because I feel like I'm the only person on this particular island. It doesn't matter how many games you are up on the standings. It's what the loss number is. So right now, the Lakers have 4 losses behind the 3 teams ahead of them. And now they're actually 1 behind the Warriors, which means as soon as the Warriors catch up in games, there's a chance that they'll overtake them. It looks like the Lakers are going to probably get the 10th seed. That's what it looks like. But that's going to depend on that 6-game run at home and 6-game run on the road. If they end up coming up lame, like 1-5 or 2-4 in both those things, there's a small chance if Utah goes on a run, they might miss the playoffs too. But I think they'll probably get the 10. I'd say they'll probably go 500 at worst in both those areas. But they're probably going to get the 10th if I had to make a prediction right now.
Well, all being said, John, let me bring it back to you. Like I said, it was Joe. We're one loss behind the Golden State Warriors now, but we're still technically a half game up. But yes, they have played less games due to the untimely death of the assistant coach. So obviously, once they catch it up, they could catch it up with wins, or they could catch it up with losses. It remains to be seen. But John, tonight's game showed the Lakers, that the 50-40-80 that they had been shooting the 3 games leading into the break was more than likely an aberration, because the Lakers just could not find the rhythm at all. I'm hoping I'm wrong and that they can find that rhythm again starting tomorrow when you talk about the Lakers playing at home against the San Antonio Spurs, who have the similar trip that the Lakers do. They just finished their game in Sacramento, both playing on a back-to-back. So really, pretty much the same type of flight involved. So there pretty much isn't going to be a difference as far as rest for either team. We'll know for sure tomorrow in the morning, Darvin Ham says, in regards to LeBron's official status for the game. But John, again, when you have a performance from AD, it seemed like at times, because the Lakers' poor shooting from the outside, which they reverted back to, it seemed like it was very much like November and December, where the Lakers just absolutely were terrible from the outside and gave no help to AD.
Yeah, it looked just like that. It was very early in the season. Some people were high on us, and some people were like, "Wow, like Cam Reddish is like coming out the woodworks, and look at Cam Reddish." And people were high on him, and then some people were high on the Lakers, and then all of a sudden there was that boom, that huge drop off that we had. And in that huge drop-off we had, that's when D'Angelo Russell's name started getting dragged through the mud. Rui's name started to get dragged through the mud. I mean, really anybody on this team's name started to get dragged through the mud, but none more than D'Lo's. And they were just saying how they weren't there to help. They weren't there to help, and they're letting LeBron go through this by himself, and all this for Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is having the most healthy season of his career, but yet the role players aren't stepping up. And then what happens was a lot of their names got put on the trade block. They got put on that chop, and they were like, "Yo, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I'd love to stay in sunny Los Angeles and keep playing basketball for the Lakers. So let me step it up." And a lot of these guys stepped it up. Prime example, D'Angelo Russell. Oh my gosh! Ever since it was really close to the trade deadline, he started hooping, and I think he should have did this when his name was getting dragged through the mud early. But that's can't cry over spilled milk. It is what it is. But what I say all that to say that these Lakers, role players, I think now that they've gotten past the trade deadline, they have that cloud that's over them that was like, hey, you better ball out and you better show us why you belong to be here, or else we're going to ship you out of here. I think that cloud is kind of gone. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go bad consistently as playing to as bad as they were earlier in the season. But what I will say is that I think the urgency to be great and the urgency to do everything right and make the right play on defense and make sure you hustle and dive in a loose ball and just do all the extra little things that any player would do when they're on the verge of getting traded or not traded or getting cut or not cut. I think that some of those guys just lost that fire in them. And yeah, tonight there was really no support for Anthony Davis. I know D'Lo finished with almost a double-double. He had 18 points, I believe, like 9 assists. I know AR had 16, but besides that, it was a rough night for us. Maybe we just need to tell D'Lo he's getting traded. Hey, Kurt, maybe we do, brother. Maybe we do. Yeah, see, and real quick, that is, JSJ. He's talking about how like we let the Davis
Jackson Davis. Yes.
Yep. We let him go off, and like he does sound like a country singer. That's hilarious. But what's crazy to me and what's annoying to me is I understand that defensive scheme of like, all right, we're gonna hone in on this guy.
TJD killed Jackson Hayes on the pick and roll. It was the pick and roll every single time. Jackson Hayes bit every single time to easily find TJD for a layup every single time in that second quarter. That run where he got 13 of his points late in the second quarter with no AD in the game and TJD just basically burning Jackson Hayes time and time again. And I'll touch on that with Joe here in a sec, a little bit more. But yeah, that was a killer, John. Absolute killer. And that's how you get down at the half. And that really set the Lakers back for the rest of the game.
No disrespect at all to Davis Jackson guy, but he should not be scoring 11 straight points in an NBA game. He scored 11 straight points, y'all. You can go ahead and give it to Joe. It's crazy.
That's more. That's he scores more points than what JHS scored in a month.
It was his birthday, probably. That's why.
And he's been playing a key role for them off the bench, Joe. That's the problem. Off the bench.
Birthday games sometimes bring out certain abilities, so he did have an incentive to play well tonight.
Well, that being said, the Lakers got killed in those second and third quarter runs. They did not close the second and third quarter at all well, which was a big reason. That's pretty much essentially the game is right there. The Lakers got run up on twice in both the second and third quarters, and it led to pretty much what the downfall was for the entire game.
It's a microcosm of the season and the ability of this particular team. So you saw good basketball. You did. They were playing hard. They were back and forth. They took a 4-point lead. They were aggressive. They were doing their thing. AD was getting rebounds. They were making really difficult shots in a lot of ways. But at the same time, equally, they revert back to what has caused a mediocre season, not being able to get under the screens, get over the screens correctly, running behind on defense, not being able to close out on particular double teams well enough or quick enough, getting manhandled on pick and rolls. It's
falling asleep on defense.
I think falling asleep on defense is actually a compliment. Falling asleep is a mistake. it would be a mistake to fall asleep. They are not capable of playing defense is really the issue. So when you play a team that's on high octane offense, how do you stop them? How do you stop a team that can score 11 straight points using its 11th guy? I'm not saying Golden State's a good team, by the way. They were due this win right here. They hadn't played this well against the Lakers in a long time, from what I can remember, really, especially in the regular season. And it's just not. They're not capable of being able to focus for 48 minutes playing fundamental basketball, because they're not really taught to play fundamental basketball. They're not taught how to space. They're not taught when and how and where to shoot. You had Torian Prince in the first quarter shoot a 27-footer
Contested
with
early
like
in the shot
18
clock.
seconds left on the shot clock. What if that happens 20 years ago? He's sitting. Heck, Andrew Bynum, when Mike Brown was coaching, he took a ill-advised three, and I don't even think that it mattered in that game. He got sat down. The culture of the NBA is, and the culture has always been, and I have to repeat this all the time, I'm not trying to be a prisoner in the moment. It's always been a players' league. Always. The only difference is, if you were going to be a dick, there were consequences that you had to face. Guys that didn't put the right effort in, guys that were complaining too much, they became a headache. They became the Gilbert Arenases. They became, in a lot of ways, Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady wasn't a bad chemistry guy. It's just he didn't know how to win because he didn't really put in the work. He used his ability, his God crazy ability to do what he did for a decade. And then as soon as that ran out, that was it. Like, he didn't work hard enough to extend that talent. AI, to a certain extent, was the same way. When he got to Denver, when he ran out his time in Philly and they got traded to Denver, that guy was a shell of himself. He was a shell of himself the last 5 years. And you either become a Michael Jordan, a Kobe Bryant, or a Tim Duncan, or you become those guys where they hit the wall pretty well. And you have to rely on your fundamentals. You have to rely on your veteran experience. It's sad to see that some of these guys are considered legitimate. I mean, you're talking about 9 seasons with D'Angelo Russell. You're talking about players that have been playing for 4 or 5 years. Why? What do you fall back on when you're not talented enough? You fall back on the right fundamentals, the right schemes as best you can, but it's not there with this team. And LeBron, I just don't want this to be I don't want to dog on LeBron. I think that's too easy. Everybody dogs on it because of other reasons too. It's just because they're jealous and they don't like successful people a lot of times. That's usually for anybody. If you don't believe me, you can just look at what people did to Patrick Mahomes this year when he just complained once. They turned on him. LeBron James has never looked at, he's never been on the basketball court someone that you would see with like phenomenal footwork and being able to really navigate the fundamentals in a way like Kobe would do it, or Tim Duncan, or Michael, heck, even Shaq. He's just not that player. His ability to keep himself in tip-top shape and his ridiculous size and amazing speed and ability to play basketball is what has carried him. And good for him. But the problem is, when things don't go well, this is what happens. And this is not just this year. This has been his issues his whole career. Whether he's not playing, whether he is playing, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect when things aren't going well. And you don't see as much of the success during those times. He's succeeded being behind the 8 ball, Game 6 in 2012. Coming back from 2018 and I should say 2018, 2019 with his first year in LA, and then coming back the following year and having that year to win a championship and dealing with the COVID thing. There's spots there, but it's been 21 years. 21 years of something, always. And I grew up watching guys playing 82 games a year, dude. And if they didn't play 82 games a year, it was a problem. It was a problem. I'd rather you play 15 years all out than be half-assed 21 years. That's how I feel. Because if you look at the timelines, let's say Kobe's first 14 seasons in the NBA, because his knee really started getting bad in 2011. He was getting treatment in Germany, and he was able to come back a little bit, but he was never the same after the 2010 season, to be honest with you, especially after 2011. His first 14 seasons, he was in the finals 7 times. That's with 2 different dynasties, if whatever you want to call them. I don't know if I could consider the Pau Kobe a dynasty, but you have an argument there if you do think that. But he had 2 championship eras where he went to the finals 7 times in 14 seasons. Michael was in the finals or won 6 championships from 1984 to 1998, essentially 15 years, or I should say 12 years. Sorry, 13 years if you don't count his injured season. So you see what I'm getting at. I'd rather watch greatness. I want greatness. I don't want let's hold back for more and try to get it over. I want greatness. I want greatness I'd rather have greatness in a 10-year span than kind of battling for 20. I don't like that. And that's what this feels like. This season feels like it's a constant battle to get somewhere where you know you're not going to get there. Your tank is on E and you're in San Diego needing to get to LA. You're not going to get there.
JSJ, you're not helping. He's only 15. Only 15. Once again, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers do lose 128 to 110. I will not have his parents come and email me or come at me.
JSJ, come on.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Wait until you're 18, cool bro. Then watch Clockwork
I
Orange.
think you guys should have understood this by now.
And
but
Boogie
it doesn't
Nights
look like his
after
parents-
18.
If he's already watched Scarface, I don't think his parents are concerned about
I'm
his
not. Yes, but
I'm not dogging his parents. I watched Commando. I watched The Terminator when I was 9. Those weren't exactly the right movies for a 9-year-old. So I can't front on that. I watched all those much younger than him. Scarface, The Godfather, all the Friday the 13th movies and the Nightmare on Elm Street. I saw all that crap. So I can't say anything, but I'm trying to be a good
can't
adult
wait to
here.
get the letter from the parents teachers.
We're trying to be a good adult here. Boogie Nights is a little too much and Scarface is a little too much. If you want to watch The Terminator or movies like that, I don't think it's that bad. It's just a lot of action, but I don't know. That's just how I feel about it.
John, again, when it comes to the Lakers, they got to get back on the winning track tomorrow. There's no excuses. In all likelihood, according to those exact words that Darvin Ham used, LeBron will be back in the lineup. They'll have the same kind of travel that the San Antonio Spurs has. How important and imperative is it for the Lakers to win tomorrow against San Antonio at the Crypt?
It's extremely, extremely important, y'all, because right now, I mentioned earlier, we sit at the 9th seed. The Warriors are in the 10th seed with the one more. Now we have one more loss than them. And then who's on top of us? The Kings with 23 losses. Honestly, every game matters at this point. Every game needs to be played like this is a game 7, only for us to even have a chance to go to the playoffs. When I say to the playoffs, I don't mean like finishing as a top 6 seed. I mean like being able to get in there through the play-in. That's the only chance. So we're gonna have to play it like this is a game 7, like we're contending for a championship, but instead we're just trying to get to the play-in.
But it's
That's
deja vu all over again. The Lakers gassed themselves out because they had to go 18-8. They had to play LeBron and AD every single game that they were available to do so. They didn't give them rest while other teams were resting their players at the end of the season, John. The Lakers had to do this. So what? Flash forward a year later, you're asking them to do the same exact thing all over again, John.
that's an issue of management. I think that's an issue of management. We're in the exact same spot that we were last year. I mean, wasn't it like a couple games before All-Star break? Wasn't it that we had the like exact same record?
It was.
Then when we had Russell Westbrook. So it's like, come on, this is a management issue. I mean, this is a lot deeper than management. There's a lot of layers. It's not just management. But what I'll say is that like you see something happen one way, and honestly, Joe, I think you hit it on the head. Like you said that this team is like stuck on last year. They just think that what happened last year is going to happen this year, and unfortunately, it's upsetting because it's not going to happen. We've all said it. Gerald said it. Joe said it. We are not good enough this year.
We heard time and time again, Joe Stone say on playback and on the show about the realization that people have to come to grips with the realization that the Lakers, it's just not like last year. Every other team in the Western Conference in the top 10 spots, including the Lakers, outside the Lakers, they're relatively healthy. The Lakers do have, the injury issues that they have, but every other team has a relatively healthy roster. That does not look like it's going to be any easier this time around. Looks like it's going to be even more difficult. So that's why when people come at us about being realistic about the Lakers' chances this season, it just games like tonight just really pounded in there for everybody the realization that this team does not look like it's going to go ahead and have that same kind of success this time around, Joe.
Yeah, the constant kind of pushback on that is irrelevant. It has no concern to the discussion. It has no bearing at all. If you're going to continue to be on planet delusional, as Adam Shine says on his show, you can go ahead and be there if you feel good there. The deja vu in this situation is it reminds me a lot of the aftermath of the CP3 trade. The Lakers were trying to patch up two things at once, and it didn't work. The patch-up job then was they're trying to get the talent to cover the CP3 acquisition, or what was supposed to be the acquisition. You weren't going to get Steve Nash to be what you wanted him to be. Even with Dwight Howard there and Kobe and all that. Then you had to reconcile with a hurt Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom, which was completely fractured. There's that word again, fractured. The Lakers did a similar thing, but just different with the Westbrook trade. That has set them back. That, when you look back on the LeBron AD era of basketball, that will be the dagger that killed a potential 2, possibly 3 title team era. And when you look back at LeBron's career, it doesn't look like LeBron's ever going to win another championship. He will probably play another year at the very least, which means he will finish, let's say he retires after 2022. That means he's going to win only 4 championships in 2022 seasons. That's you can look at that and see the talent that he had in that time, his talent, obviously, and some of the decisions he made weren't necessarily smart decisions. And that was his last meddling that really, really put the stake in his legacy a little. Yes, I know it's unfair. It is unfair in a lot of ways, unless you look at the context of the situation. You look at somebody like Karl Malone, John Stockton. They didn't win championships, but look at the context of those situations. It's easy to say, well, Karl Malone wasn't clutch and John Stockton wasn't clutch. You can't look at it that way. The clutch thing is just like the word great or iconic or the best. It's hyperbole. Not everyone is clutch. Even the great players. Shaq wasn't clutch. He couldn't even play. You couldn't even give him the ball the last 5 minutes of the game. It doesn't mean you're not great if you're not clutch. Clutch is another level that puts you on another mountain. That's what that is. There's levels to it. And when you look at this career, you look at it as more of missed opportunities than opportunities that, in terms of LeBron, missed opportunities that he actually created himself. Karl Malone and John Stockton came to work every game. I mean, I'm serious. Like, they played 82 games almost their entire careers. And they didn't win because, number one, they ran into Michael Jordan at the wrong time. And they had a lot of great players at the time. I've been hearing the word plumber about 90s players lately and 80s players. The first thing that comes out of my mouth is a curse word, by the way. Like, mother, 80s is the golden era of basketball. Are you kidding me? Magic Johnson in this era, Larry Bird is Dan Marino in 84, throwing 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns in that era. That was Larry Bird in the 80s. You imagine Larry Bird getting the shot selection now? You want to talk about scoring titles? You want to talk about killing everybody? That guy would have averaged 35 points a game in his sleep. Game in, game out. Would have been toe-to-toe with Steph Curry from three in that department. So this run is coming to an end. We need to prepare Laker Nation for this because we're going to need to start talking about. We're starting to talk about it, but we're going to really talk about it this summer. There is one possibility that this does have another leg to it, but a lot of things have to come together. I'm talking about there needs to be a willing elite star that would be granted to be traded here, similar to AD. Whoever that is. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
No, you're all good. No, I was just waiting for you to finish that.
And if you can do that, but you still have to surround those guys with the right role players. You don't do that, it's still not going to work. You got to have everything this summer. It's going to be next to impossible. Rob Pelinka, whomever is running this thing, they're going to need some help. They're going to need help, and then the fact that they're going to need favors from some of these GMs. So that's something you guys all need to start preparing for, okay? Because this thing right now and about tomorrow night, whether they lose tomorrow night or not, doesn't have any relevance to me. It really doesn't. It's just not. It's just you lose tonight, you lose tomorrow. Okay, it's status quo from this year. I don't know. I would have been happier, obviously, if they won tonight and won tomorrow. I know they're not going to finish undefeated. I guess if they were going to lose a game, this would be a good game to lose on the road. But then again, that's not true either. You're playing a team that's on your ass, and they just passed your ass now. So we're gonna be here. We're gonna try to figure out a way to entertain and maintain at the same time.
Entertain and maintain. I like that. Entertain and maintain.
Yeah.
So let me say this, John. the latest comment from, because you knew Ham had to say something that's going to piss you off. Anthony Davis isn't speaking with the media tonight, according to Jovan Buha from The Athletic, because he lost his voice per the team. Darvin Ham said post-game that Davis's voice affected his ability to communicate defensively tonight. So the excuses are back. So because AD couldn't be the play caller on defense, that is, I don't know. I'm just paraphrasing now from now on. We're assuming that he's putting a little bit of the onus on the poor defensive showing tonight on the fact that AD could not communicate with a bad voice tonight. John.
That's crazy. I mean, the amount of excuses that I hear from this guy is absolutely insane. But what's crazy to me is that earlier in this stream, like literally earlier in this stream today, I mentioned one of my points was, why on God's green earth do you run a drop coverage with not only just a good shooter, but literally the greatest shooter of all time, who can shoot off the dribble, off catch and shoot, off everything. And that's the type of defensive scheme you run. That's the type of defense scheme you're okay with. Like if I'm coaching that team, Anthony Davis just drop coverage one time on that Stephen Curry pick and roll, timeout. Anthony Davis, what are you doing? You better get up on that every single time. But that doesn't happen with Darvin Ham. He continues to allow it to let it happen. And then this whole thing, him blaming Anthony Davis's voice, like what even is that? Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Lions don't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. Like, what is he even saying? Honestly, like how everybody's saying, no comment about that. That's a ridiculous Darvin Ham.
Well, I was just saying it for Cool Bro.
Okay, gotcha.
Cool, because Cool Bro is trying to find out a certain specific scene in Clockwork Orange, which I will not mention to him because it's not appropriate for viewers his age. So, and I'll just leave it at that.
That might be the most pathetic thing I've heard from a coach, actually.
Yeah.
The guy scored. The guy I asked him to do 30-15 tonight. He did 27 and 15 with no voice. And
whose job was it? Whose job was it to tell AD to stop? You telling me he's deaf too? Is AD deaf tonight too? I'm not talking about deaf as in a good thing. I'm talking about literally can't hear. They kept drawing AD out of the box, and it was a layup line. It was a pick and roll. They got pick and roll to death tonight. Layup line left and right because they kept drawing on. Where were you with your voice telling your big man to stop doing that? Oh, I know why he couldn't stop doing it. Oh, he couldn't tell anybody on the team, meaning AD, so he had to go and cover for them, right? Well, who's going to cover the hoop? The amount.
It angers you.
What? Seriously, this is supposed to be a guy that got shot. That comes from a lifestyle that he had to escape to get to pay dirt. How is a guy coming from that turned into such a bitch? That is a bitch excuse. One of the worst ones I've heard too. Like straight up. How does that happen? All for what? So you can kiss your player's ass? Like seriously, how does that make any sense? The amount of excuses out of this. Have you run out of coherent, intelligent responses? If you're Darvin Ham and you're supposed to be a head coach of a professional team in a league that's number one on the planet, how about explaining why your team sucked tonight and how you screwed up not commanding them the right way? Oh, I know why he doesn't do it, because he'd be doing it every night. He does not belong. This is it, folks. I mean, it was already it before, but this right here, if this is actually what he said, this guy should never coach anything, not even as an assistant. This is the type of person, the type of player that has created this kind of societal issue. Excuse after excuse after excuse. Folks, a good excuse is still an excuse. at the end of the day. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Life sucks sometimes. Pull your pants up, deal with it. Because you're gonna build character that way if you have that mindset. But the only character that this guy builds is a cartoon character. That's all he does. What other things can we say? I've tried to avoid calling this guy names because I think Sean did enough of that. And I don't want to call him a name. And I don't really think I called him a name. I said he's pretty much you know what? Because that's what he's doing. He couldn't communicate because he lost his voice? Really?
That's crazy.
That is the worst excuse I've ever heard. That is a lot, folks. I've seen God knows how many basketball games, probably 5,000. How many football games where you do have to yell back in the day? Did you ever hear, Joe Montana lost his voice because he was yelling at Jerry Rice to go to the curl instead of the slant? Like, seriously, where did this come from? How does that ever make sense? And even if it did happen, how do you even talk about it with a straight face and you call yourself a professional, a man, a coach, a leader? He would be fired tonight. If I teleported into Laker ownership right now, he would have been fired tonight. And I would have sat with him and I would have said, this right here, what you did is why I fired you. And I'm trying to understand what the hell you have become. You have completely, this is the tough guys, folks, the tough guys that you think are tough because they came from some neighborhood. You guys got to get that out of your head. Those guys are not tough 90% of the time. I've been around those guys before. They're not tough just because they're from that area. They do what they have to do. They get mentally jacked up in those worlds. But as soon as they start becoming civilized, according to them, guess what happens? They adapt to the environment because that's what happens when they're there. They adapt to the environment. Now he's in an environment where he's a millionaire. Everything's cool. Everything's good. No issues. Well, this is what you get. Now you got a guy who survived getting shot, living that kind of life, to now saying, he lost his voice. I'm sorry. He lost his voice. He lost his voice. Wow. That's why he lost, because he lost his voice.
Joe, oh my gosh.
Hey, look. You want to talk about, look, I'm saying it because it's important to say it. You cannot tell me that you are this dude and you talk like that.
No, that was honestly hilarious. Joe, that will be the moment of my night right there. Yes. But real quick, I mean, as far as that, there's nothing more that I got to touch on besides the fact that, like, we've all seen great coaches in the NBA come and go. And what's one thing that all those great coaches had? They held the players accountable. And Darvin Ham doesn't do that. But real quick, I do just want to go back a little bit in the comment section because I believe it was Sports Baby and Urban Moving Systems. Yes. So they were, so I gotta stand on business. You know what I'm saying? I gotta protect myself and protect my claim. Earlier, I don't think that they heard your full question earlier, Gerald, because I was talking about how management, this is management's fault that we're exactly where we were.
I always tell you it's an organizational issue. When a team is doing good or doing bad, it's an organizational
exactly
thing. It's a shared winning and a shared losing. So if the Lakers are not on good times, you got to look at the organization as a whole and who is not doing their job properly, not just one area.
Exactly right. So that's why I could never put the blame on strictly just the players or strictly just management. But to answer the question of why we are exactly where we were last year, as far as like as far as now we're screwed because now we have to be careful because Bron's got to rest games, but he also can't miss games because without Bron, we're not as great as we're supposed to be.
Because last year we had the excuse of LeBron and AD being out for stretches at a time. We don't have that excuse here because they've been relatively healthy. Yes, LeBron's ankle past this game and the past game. I get that. I already mumbled and grumbled about that already. But for the most part, they've been healthy virtually the entire season. And we don't have that same excuse this time around, John.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is the biggest fault and the biggest I wouldn't even say an excuse because it's not an excuse. You got to be able to get it done no matter the means. The biggest issue is where I think if the blame is going to fall on any one person, which it can't. Again, I want to clear this before I even say it. It has to go to Darvin Ham. Like it would have to start with Darvin Ham because, like I've said, even if you bring on, unless you were to bring on generational talent player like Luka, the Giannis's, the Kawhis, the players who are just going to absolutely change the trajectory of this season, it doesn't matter who we were to bring on. It doesn't matter if we were to bring on all the targets that you wanted, that 3-and-D big, that point guard who can play defense but also play make. It wouldn't matter because you know why? At the helm of the coaching, at the helm of the team, it would still be Darvin Ham who makes silly decisions like how we've seen tonight and how we've seen time and time again. So I just want to clear that up because I don't know if they thought I was saying fault. And when I say fault, I don't mean fault for the bad season. Fault for the bad season, that's an organizational-wide thing. It starts with Darvin Ham, but that is an organizational-wide thing. I meant management is the fault for the fact of like player wise, our situation wise, like we are exactly where we were last year, and they should have learned something from that. And then another thing, real quick, that I believe Sports Baby had said he said that we have a better starting lineup than the Mavs and the Kings. That is crazy. Like you must have not watched a single Mavs game or a single Kings game this season to think that we have a better starting lineup than what the Mavs are putting out, especially now when PJ Washington came to this team. And then also for the Kings, come on, y'all. I'm not going to lie, guys. Anthony Davis was an absolute all-star defense player of the year. I love it. But LeBron James, I love the fact that he was there too. But De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis also deserve to be there just as much.
Well, again, I would say when it comes to who has the better starting lineups, I think you can pretty much throw a blanket over all three of those teams. They're all have good quality starting lineups. It's who is behind them. It's who is behind them to support them. It's building the team. I mean, Sports Baby saying, Joe, that you have last year was Westbrook. This year it's something else. With the Lakers, again, you do have two all-stars. You have one all-star in LeBron who is not played as well as he did last season when he was in the lineup last season. This year, it's quite a different story. It's quite a different story, but still relatively the same result. Again, there's flaws in this team. There's flaws this organization has yet to be able to go ahead and fix and repair. And until they do so, I don't think the Lakers are getting any better this season or until they do next season as well.
No, there needs to be a complete revamp with hopefully AD.
Yes, there needs to be a complete revamp with hopefully AD, and we need to figure out a way that we can put AD needs to have a partner in crime. He is not a 1A guy. He is a 1B guy. He is very, very important to you, but he cannot say, "Give me the ball and I'm going to play make for others and be able to go get a bucket for myself." So we need to have him earlier. Joe, you were talking about Trae Young. He needs to be paired up with a Trae Young. He needs to be paired up with a Luka. He needs to be paired up with a point guard that can set him up, especially with those lobs at the rim. But my biggest thing that I just want to get at real quick before we get off this is Sports Baby says that the Kings have no all-stars. Like, that's such a casual take, guys. Like, I'm like, stop with that. Because if De'Aaron Fox should have absolutely been an all-star, and so should have Sabonis. And LeBron James, even if LeBron James, guys, would have played 5 games this season, he would have been an all-star. He was going to be an all-star. So saying
He
the
got
Lakers,
voted in.
yes. So saying the Lakers have two all-stars is like, we have one that is an all-star and could be defensive player of the year. We have another who plays like an all-star one game, the next game doesn't play, and then when he comes back, maybe he doesn't play like an all-star, but he was going to be an all-star no matter what. So I just want to shut down that little argument of Lakers have two all-stars and the Kings have none. So let's go ahead and shut that down today, please, because Kings should have had two.
Cool, bro. Again, you're getting us in trouble. Stop it, please. We're trying again. You watch all these movies after you're 18, and we'll leave it at that. But once again, the Lakers do lose 128 to 110. Joe is going to be heading out here in a minute to go ahead and run. I've got the already the nightcap set up for you, my friend. But before we head on out, wanted to go ahead and share in some final thoughts on the game tonight.
Yeah, I read something on Lakers Ball that was another good comment. This team is entitlement plus crap coach equals the 2024 Lakers. That's the best formula that I've read about the team. They seem like we can do what we want. LeBron can miss games and we'll be okay. We just got to get there. Okay. We'll be there for the ride. We'll see what happens. But this team does not warrant this much attention. It's a Laker channel. That's the only reason why it is there. But if it wasn't for Lakers Fast Break, they're just not worth going into this bipolar type mindset every week. It's just that it's exhausting. Either be one thing or don't be one thing. If you lose there is a way to lose the right way. You playing your rear end off. You're making the right calls. Sometimes the talent will over. If you're playing well throughout a year and it's a January game or a February game and you're jet lagged. We all understand that. We've watched this game a long time, but this team killed itself a few years back, and it looks like it's just slowly. The corpse is slowly just being what it's being. So, I hope they have a solution.
I don't think LeBron is a top 10 player on an 82 game basis.
No
baby.
way.
He can't.
82 game basis. Come on, there's not a chance.
I mean, there's those games, maybe 1/3 of the season where he will give you a top 10 level performance, but
top 5.
Yeah, but he can't give you that anymore. Problem is the Lakers need him to give the team that much more than what he can.
Why? Real quick, just to circle back. Why in the fudge do we need him to do that? Because of my point I was getting at. The management. We did not manage this team well enough to get it to where now we're not relying on LeBron James, who's 39 years old. And it was crazy as I freaking said this was going to happen, y'all. I said at the beginning of the season, I was like, we're going to get to a point in this season where we're going to be relying on a 39-year-old LeBron James, and that's going to be scary. And that's why I pushed so hard early in the season to get a real point guard who's going to actually be able to take LeBron James off the ball and not be a defensive liability on the other end.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is John Costa from Lakers Corner Clutch Talk, along with Joe Soro, who is heading out to host right here on this channel, the Lakers Nightcap, here in less than 10 minutes. Yes, I mean, we thought this team would be a deep team, John. Everybody came in. We were lauding it in the D team. Most people had said that the Lakers looked good, but this depth, it has not worked out. The Lakers, in their hindsight at how they built this team, built a lot of players that can do things on one side or the ball or the other, but they can't do it on both at an efficient level, which again is coming back to haunt us, like in games like tonight, where defensively we looked absolutely atrocious without some of our better defenders out there, Vanderbilt and Reddish. It doesn't have that same type of defensive bite. And again, with Ham messaging out there that, they were not as effective defensively, partly due to AD not being able to call out the defensive schemes from where he was at. I just think it's a cheap. I just need him to stop making excuses on that assessment. Just stop it. Just stop with the excuses. Just say, you know what? We got beat by a team that played much better. They had a lot more energy at times tonight. They were hustling for loose balls. They definitely got the better of that. They shot more efficiently, and we never found our rhythm tonight on either end of the floor. Just say it was a bad game. We did a bad job, and we're going to regroup and try and get the win tomorrow, instead of trying to make excuses for what you didn't get right tonight.
I'd respect that 10 times more, to be honest. I'd be like, yep, all right, cool. And maybe he's trying to leave. He's starting to take accountability for what went wrong. I guarantee if it was Eric Spoelstra or really any other one of these great coaches, they would have kept it a buck, and they would have been like, we played terrible. We didn't do what we needed to do, and there you go. But instead, we get Darvin Ham making – Gerald, I ain't going to lie, Gerald. I've watched a lot of basketball. I've never heard somebody say, oh, yeah, our defense wasn't on point because his voice was a little raspy. That's crazy.
Well, again, he said that Davis's voice affected his ability to communicate defensively tonight. Those were his exact words. So if you're trying to read in between the lines, which you wouldn't put that out there unless you want people to read in between the lines, and that to me, I think is my assessment of Ham is you won't say these things without a reason. So if you're saying those things out there, then it sounds like you are trying to make an excuse for why you played absolutely terrible defense all game tonight.
Yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Absolutely no excuse indeed. But before we head on out, John, Lakers Corner, Clutch Talk. And again, Joe will be on this very channel here in just a few minutes, less than 5 minutes. 6 minutes. Or less than, actually about 5 minutes now. The clock just changed. What's going on at Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk?
Yes, come check me out, guys. I got 2 channels. I got Clutch Talk, which is an NBA talk show. I got that is dropped it on YouTube. I do like a talk show like this. I do also Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and that is 2 weekly episodes talking all about the NBA as a whole. And then I also got Lakers Corner, where it's just strictly my Lakers talk, strictly where we get into only Lakers news, updates, games, all that. And that is just on YouTube, soon to be podcast. But as always, appreciate you, Gerald. Love the family, love the community that we got going on over here, and let's keep it coming. Just got to get a win tomorrow.
Barry Lyndon, you can watch that film. It is rated PG. It is a Stanley Kubrick film, like you mentioned, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Cool, bro. We'll let you watch that one, but that's not one of his more well-known works. It is 2001: A Space Odyssey. That is one of his most notable works, right there. But once again, it is the Lakers fast break. They do unfortunately lose 128-110. Joe's coming up here in just 4 minutes, plus also as well tomorrow. The usual suspects, of course, are pregame, during the game, playback.tv/Lakers fast break. And once again, big shout out to Laker Nick and Stone Hansen for being a great part of it. And then, of course, the postgame coming up after the game, the best Lakers postgame that's out there, and the best Lakers chat room that's out there is the Lakers fast break. And, of course, topped off again by another Lakers nightcap with Joe Soro on Friday night at 11 p.m. on Friday as well. But, my friend, it's been great having you here. Any last notes from you on the Lakers, on what they need to do? Because, again, there's no room for error. No margin for error. It's looking more and more, just because they're so far back now in the Western Conference, that 9th or 10th place might be the standings where they are at when they head to the play-in, my friend.
Every game matters now. Every possession matters now. We cannot punt games. At this point, we cannot punt possessions. Everything matters, and every win matters at this point. So, Lakers Nation, we got to turn up from here on forth. And I don't have much belief, but if I look hard enough, I can find my purple and gold glasses, put them on, and have some belief that maybe something will happen there.
Well, again, it just health it does have something, to it. As LeBron James, we'll know for sure in the morning. Again, Darvin Ham, amongst the other things that he said, did say they're going to reevaluate LeBron James. And it was just so funny because I know your clutch talk, but Joe, I wanted to point out to Joe, and I'll probably try to remember to do this when I hop on his nightcap, that it was ironic. Joe was talking about clutch, being a player in the clutch, What was the hoodie LeBron James was wearing tonight on the sidelines?
He was wearing a clutch hoodie.
Yes, he was wearing a clutch hoodie. Said it right there, clutch. So yeah. Coolbro says see more Kubrick films. He's a great artist. Absolutely. He was a great director of many great films. So go ahead and 2001 Space Odyssey, I think, is a little bit better than Shining, but that's just me. Shining is still a classic. Absolutely. So once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is John Costa from Lakers Corner and Clutch Talk. Please go ahead, like and subscribe to his channels. And if you've not yet liked, followed, subscribed, if you're on Facebook watching us, thank you so much to Jaroslav and Rosalia for liking us on Facebook. Truly appreciate you doing so for this video tonight. And for everybody out there, cannot thank you enough for supporting what we do here at the Lakers Fast Break. Okay. So you didn't like The Shiny. You liked the book way better. All right. Well, again, I kind of like the movie myself, but that was just me. Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Ham is our coach, so winning will be tough. JSJ says Clippers choked it tonight. Yeah, they had an opportunity to go ahead and win on the road in OKC, and they didn't get it done. I don't feel bad about that at all. I think OKC is a team that in the regular season could be something really special to watch, but we'll see how their youth plays out in the playoffs. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. Joe Soro is ready to go ahead and start up for you. Are you ready for a nightcap? Well, ready or not, he's coming on the channel with his own nightcap, which hopefully you'll be able to check out with his thoughts. I'm also, when I get back on there, because I'm going to upload this to audio. After I do so, I'll get on there and hopefully I can talk to him as well about the Dodgers and how they look so far in the preseason, in spring training. So thank you everyone for joining us. Gerald Glassford. Stay tuned for Joe Soro. He's on now for a nightcap, but for John and I, we're heading on out. We'll see you soon. I'll try to jump on in a few minutes, but we'll see you tomorrow for a full day against the San Antonio Spurs right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.